as he introduced, I'm Matz, Yukihiro Matsumoto, but it's kind of difficult to remember my Japanese name, so just call me Matz. So today I'm going to talk about mRuby, just because the mRuby is started in Fukuoka, and I came here with the Fukuoka delegation. So today I'm going to talk about mRuby. But you might think about the other stuff like cRuby, Ruby 3, or Stream, the other programming language I'm currently working on. So I guess we are going to have some kind of the QA session afterwards. So feel free to ask me anything. So mRuby. So the M in mRuby stands for many things. For example, so Matz, embedded, minimal, and modular. So the Matz means it's created by me. So you may know the Ruby language was designed and implemented by me. When many people called my Ruby, the canonical Ruby interpreter, as MRI, Matz Ruby interpreter, but it's not strictly speaking, it's no longer the Matz Ruby interpreter any longer. Just because my interpreter was used until Ruby 1.8, so until 2007. So in 2007, so we replaced the virtual machine. They called named yet another Ruby virtual machine, or YERV in short. In the early 2000s, so we have a lot of attempt to replace the Ruby virtual machine. And as you may know, writing the simple virtual machine is very easy. It's a kind of the practice in the CS class, but the real world working virtual machine is extremely difficult. So back then, 15 years ago or so we have the several or maybe 4 or 5 attempts to create the virtual machine to run Ruby programs, but only one of them succeeded. The other one, all the others failed to implement the complex, very complex Ruby programming language. So the YERV succeeded to run all the Ruby program, passed all the Ruby test suites, so that we integrated that virtual machine into the Ruby interpreter. So since then, so the term the MRI, Matz Ruby interpreter, is no longer appropriate. So we often call it cRuby. Compared to JRuby is implemented in Java. So the Ruby interpreter is written in C, entirely in C. So we often call it a cRuby. Well, and then comes mRuby. So in 2010, I guess. So I and several several developers in Fukuoka Prefecture was discussed about extending the future of Ruby language. So in Fukuoka Prefecture, we have a lot of software company, as Professor Tanaka introduced, but some companies working on embedding field. Just because in Japan, so we have a lot of the manufacturing companies like Toyota or Panasonic or Sony or something like that. So there are some software companies working for the manufacturing companies. So in Fukuoka Prefecture, there is the software company has their strength in the embedding field. So, but usually those programs are written in C or C++ or in assembler. So, but writing in those programming language is kind of difficult, and difficult to modify and update and create. So in the embedding field, the ratio in the system of the ratio of the software in the system is getting bigger and bigger each year. So that they wanted something more effective, productive, and easy to create new systems, quicker and quicker and cheaper. So we concluded, if there is the language which is very effective, very productive, and that can be applied to the embedding field, that would be very, very useful in the future, because the machine power in the embedding field, the microcontrollers are usually very tiny, weak computers, but its power and the resources are getting bigger and bigger each year. So in few years from 2010, the computer for the embedding field would be even bigger than current PC. So that's why we started the program. We started the project to create the alternative Ruby implementation which can be suitable for embedding field. So that project started in 2010. So then we applied the grant from the METI, which stands for long. Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry of Japan. So Japanese government fund. So we applied the program. They gave us a grant. So the project started. So several companies and myself is working on to create the new implementation of the language, which is basically conforms the recently defined ISO standard of Ruby programming language. But in fact, most difficult part of the project is to persuade the government to make it open source. So the people in the governments usually don't understand about the software, IT industry, and even open source. So they wondered why we want it to be open source. Just because, but we want to help industry in the Fukuoka prefecture, or even in Japan, or even all over the world. So to help them, to encourage them to be more productive using the mRuby, so making it open source is the best way. So we try very hard to persuade them to allow us to make it open source. And then it succeeded. And then in 2012, so we could make it open source. So in technical aspect, the mRuby virtual machine is heavily influenced from the language named Lua, which is from Brazil, and it is very popular among the embedding field. But the Lua language is quite small and relatively weak compared to the Ruby. So I took the Lua virtual machine and made a heavy modification and improved a lot. And then we put a better API, then make it make mRuby to conform the most of the ISO standard. I say most just because the mRuby has very limited in aspect of the portability, and so we cannot implement some part of the ISO standard. So the mRuby, by its definition, is designed to be embedded. So embeddable means we provide an API to embed in systems or applications or even in the devices. I mean, so the C Ruby has API also, but its API is designed to enhance the language. You can add new features or add a wrapper to the existing C library or something like that. So you can add new features to the language. So that the application or systems is supposed to be written in Ruby. But in contrast, in mRuby is to enhance the system using Ruby. So you write your systems, your application, your device drivers in C or other programming language like Rust or C++ or even Go, and then you can add the language feature, for example, for configuration or writing into some kind of algorithm in Ruby. So you can write part of your application in Ruby. And then most of the system is in C. So the big picture is totally upside down. Yeah.